Some may know it as a series of sci-fi first-person shooters, but others know it to be a marvel in the world of interactive and game audio. Throughout his time working on Halo, Marty O'Donnell, the composer and director of audio on the game projects, made it clear that immersion in audio was just as important as any visuals. Whilst composing one of the gaming landscape's most recognisable scores, Marty also worked very hard behind the scenes with the game's extremely robust interactive audio system. This system is split up into separate audio categories: sound effects, voiceovers, and then music. But before I dive into these in detail, I wanted to read a quote from the composer and audio director from the 2002 Game Developers Conference, where he talked about his team's thought processes before starting work on the original game. Our main goal for the audio in Halo was that it would set the mood, give the player information about what is happening, especially things that can't be seen, and make the world seem more alive and real. Music should provide a dramatic component to gameplay, like combat and exploration, in addition to underscoring story and cinematic sequences. Dialogue should unfold the story, provide characterization, and draw the player deeper into the experience. Sound makes it real, music makes you feel. Sound effects are what a player expects to hear whenever an action takes place. As you could hear with even that small selection of clips, the sounds in Halo are both brazen and incredibly unique. Hopefully the breadth of sound was also very apparent. In just 20 seconds you heard multiple footstep sounds, player and enemy hit sounds, multiple weapon shots from both the player and enemies, a low health warning, environmental sounds, multiple vehicle sounds, and quite a few explosions. What was also on Showcase was the game's dynamic mixing system, which is how the audio engine takes information and parameters from the game and mixes the sounds in real time. These parameters could be anything from the player's health to provide a low health warning, or the speed of a vehicle to set the appropriate volume and pitch. A clear example of how this serves to provide immersion to the players is through audio filters. As you can hear in this clip, a low pass filter and a high-pitched hum are utilised as the player is dazed from a grenade. A similar process is used to provide variety and realism in sounds heard in different environments or at different distances. A gunshot that the player themselves is shooting should feel brash and beefy with lots of low end, while hearing shots from far away should have more of a muted snappy sound to it, echoing within its particular environment. Similarly, in the other clips, explosions and gunshots are heard more loudly than anything else, as that information is the most important to the player, so it has a higher importance in the audio hierarchy. Speaking on the audio hierarchy and the breadth of sounds present, here's a short clip from a Halo documentary demonstrating the individual layers of sound that are mixed together to create a full mix at any moment in gameplay. Just like the adaptive qualities of the game's sound effects, the dialogue in Halo is extremely dynamic. Halo Combat Evolved, the first title in the series released in 2001, was one of the first video games in existence to really pioneer adaptive dialogue. The voiceovers in Halo are based on artificial intelligence states, with the player as well as non-player characters dynamically responding to their situations through speech. The AI for Halo 2, the second game in the series releasing in 2004, had 384 AI states, with an average of 140 for each character. Each of these states contained between 2 and 10 voice samples, meaning every character had an incredible amount of potential cues. This was to provide the world with believability, give the characters, well, some character, and to give a human quality to the alien enemies. As Marty's quote from the beginning said, it is about drawing players deeper into the experience. You might have heard some of these cues in a previous clip, the one with the audio layers. Here it is again. As you can hear, the enemies respond to what's happening with the voice line, "the humans are shooting," along with some other non-verbal noises. Going even deeper, every single dialogue cue had a probability attached to it, so whenever these states were triggered, a particular sound was chosen at random, with cues that were particularly comedic or fourth wall breaking being set to the almost never category.
You're gonna blink before I do.
I'll take you down, Dumbo!
Oh, what, you don't like the job I was doing? Okay, fine. Fine. No, fine. Fine.
You know what? There's an even weirder looking bloke over there.
This particular integration of dialogue provided players with a memorable and almost personalised experience which became uniquely their own. An ancient feeling coming from Gregorian chanting, an epic sense from Chicago symphony players, and a distinctly alien sensibility from Quali vocals is how Marty O'Donnell, the composer, described his track. None of this instrumentation was at all common for game music at the time. In fact, the composer said that he didn't want to make the game's soundtrack sound like game music at all, as it wouldn't stand out that way. And stand out it did, with the series today still using the same themes and instrumentation at times, albeit in a slightly higher fidelity and with different orchestrations. The music from Halo is also notoriously varied. Every piece that has been in the background of my voiceover so far has actually been from various Halo installments. However, a large portion of the composer's musical palette was... that's right, silence. Silence was used so cleverly by Marty and his team, in fact, that only 80 minutes of music were composed for the first game, which was known to be at least a 20-hour experience. Alongside the compositional ethos, there's the quantum music system. O'Donnell coined the term quantum music, preferring it over dynamic music, as he didn't feel that the player should understand that they are in control. This music system essentially allowed tracks to perfectly align with the action and the in and out points for cutscenes. The composer did this by creating very specific in and out cues for sections of the games, and then blended different glue sequences of varying intensity and texture. Is a player pushing forward, retreating, or have they neutralized everyone in an area? Well, there are game triggers set up to trigger specific cues in all these scenarios, with a similar probability system to the dialogue, which makes sure that nothing becomes repetitive. There are also probabilities attached to the delay for these cues, so that a given layer of combat music might kick in 10 seconds after a player opens fire, or fade out 30 seconds after all the enemies have been defeated. Everything contained within the audio system for Halo is set up in a way to feel natural and provide that all-important immersion to the player, as that really is the key to the audio team's design for the series. Marty and his team, over their time working on the game series, helped shape the direction for a new level of audio mastery in games. The amount of consideration that went into the variety of sound effects, the innovation when it came to linking a vast array of AI states to vocal lines, and of course creating and perfecting a palette of music that was unlike anything the industry had even heard before, is just simply breathtaking. While most of this system went relatively unappreciated, in the world of game audio, if a player doesn't notice something, that is, ironically, a good thing. For a complex network of audio events to work together so naturally and perfectly to become part of the experience, evidently shows the skills in place of the team working on the audio of Halo.